there, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, hey, I'm April and welcome to the family. And of course, I would love for you to subscribe so you can be a part of the family. So yeah, welcome and welcome back to another 90 days recap and review, in my not so humble opinion. And we are actually going to be covering a couples roundup, I would call part one, for the most recent episode that aired on December 4th. And so I thought it would be a little bit easier to do that because I'm doing a little bit of catch up and I don't want to miss out on any conversation with you guys in regards to a lot of things that are going on in these episodes. So I thought it'd be kind of nice to kind of, bulk them together and we just kind of discuss. So yeah, I guess we'll get right on into it. Hope you are doing well today. And yeah, for me, I'm just hanging in there. I had shared in the last video that I had injured my knee, and so I'm still under the recuperating process, of course, and it's a slow go, but we're getting there and we're here, and I'm excited to be here with you guys. So yeah, it's such as life, sometimes these things do happen. So yeah, we are going to be talking today about Usman and Kimberly, Yara and Jovi, and lastly, but definitely not least, Bilal and Shaeeda. So yeah, lots that went on in this most recent episode with the couples. So let's go ahead and dive into Usman and Kimberly. Now we pick up with Usman and, Kimberly and Jamal back in San Diego, packing to go see Usman in Nigeria. If you remember from the previous episode that they were on, they had discussed about, kind of getting a trip together. So Jamal had an opportunity to meet Usman in person because Kimberly, of course, is very serious about her situation with Usman as they're both fiancés now. And of course, that's also their little thing about that adoption situation that needs to be addressed in person. So this gives an opportunity to pretty much handle both things at once. So I'm pretty excited for Jamal because Jamal has shared with us, if you remember, that this was actually the first time he's been out of country. So this is quite an interesting first trip, if you will, abroad. And so it was a lot of great fun for at least the beginning of it. And we'll, of course, have to see how things go and unfold as the trip moves on. But at this moment, they're both packing, Kimberly and Jamal, and getting themselves ready for the trip. Kimberly, if you recall, shares with us that she is, really definitely wants to have some time with Usman as well to talk about the adoption situation. She really wants to meet up with Muhammad and his wife because she wants to make sure that, hey, that they don't think that I'm just coming over there and basically taking their child from them. So, lots to talk about and discuss, of course, with that situation. And so even with all of that, Kimberly's excited about that, and Jamal kind of quips back with her, oh yes, I'm so excited to meet Usman too, And it was kind of funny because we all know that he's probably not that excited. As Jamal has shared that, he really doesn't trust Usman because he doesn't know Usman. And, he's happy about how his mother's being treated, but nevertheless, we still need to, really get a good feel for Usman before we jump right on into friend status at this point. He does share sometime within the episode that, look, I don't necessarily trust Usman, but he doesn't have to prove anything to me. I'm not looking for him to prove himself to me. I'm just looking for him to do the right things and be right by my mother. So, which I think in turn is proving himself as well. But I understand what Jamal is saying. He doesn't want that to be like, don't be doing a sing and dance in front of me. I just want to see you be authentically you when it comes to my mother. And I think it's great, for him to be that way. So yeah, they're all excited about this. They're getting everything together. And then we clip to the next morning. They're leaving bright and early for the plane ride. And it's about a 25-hour flight, if I remember Kimberly correctly, sharing. So this is going to be a long flight, long anticipated one, I think, for both. So yeah, that's pretty much where we are with that. And then 25 hours later, we actually see Usman being very excited about going to the airport to pick up Kimberly and Jamal. He is, I think, a little nervous because he feels that Jamal doesn't care for him. So, he is looking forward to meeting him. He's very much looking forward to seeing Kimberly again and hoping that they will have a really really pleasant trip there. And of course, I think that hits his goal to make sure that he will be that cruise director, if you will, for that, and definitely make sure that he feels welcome, him being Jamal. And of course, Kimberly already feels welcome because, like they both shared, that, you know, Nigeria and at least the towns that they are in Nigeria is like a second home for Kimberly. So yeah, because she does go quite often, I think, and it's just really nice to see for her to get that opportunity to do that. And it's definitely obviously helping their relationship along, you know, so it's a win-win altogether. So it was really nice when we see that Usman gets to the airport because Kimberly and Jamal have landed, and he's so excited. He's dressed for the occasion. Usman then spots Kimberly and Jamal coming through the door. He's so happy to see them. Very huggy, lovey, you know, just all of that. Jamal is so funny because he's kind of looking off to the side like, oh, my brother, I could have not seen all of this canoodling that Kimberly and Usman were doing. There was a lot of kissing, a lot of hugging, you know, all that kind of stuff. But it was still really sweet nevertheless. And Usman was very welcoming to Jamal as well. So yeah, it just seems like it's off to a good start, right? And they, from that point, leave the airport and go to the hotel. Everything's already set up, I would assume, by Usman, making sure that everything's good to go for them. Probably also with Kimberly's assistance. Let's not kid ourselves. But you know, nevertheless, he's being a very good hostess. Or host, yeah, a very good host. So they're there, and I think the rooms are like right across the hall, which is kind of funny because it kind of made me flash back to that dreadful trip that Debbie and what is her son? Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. I remember the wife, Vanessa, Debbie and Cole, when they went to Brazil, if you remember that a few seasons ago. Oh my gosh. And I do believe they were right across the hall from each other, but it wasn't starting out that way. They were actually all three, him, his mother, Jessica, were all supposed to stay in the same room. It's like, are you out of your mind? We need space. So it kind of gave me a little bit of that. But nevertheless, Usman, Kimberly, and Jamal are getting along a heck of a lot better than Debbie and Cole and Jessica did. So yeah, they go into their separate rooms. And now what I was so happy about Usman, to make sure that he had food ready for them in the hotel room. I thought that was really classy, Usman. Because who wants to fly that long of a trip and not have something already waiting for them, and they not have to go and find some place to go to get something to eat? So he's got it all set up in a nice spread, nice, authentic to his country and homeland food, and I think that is always wonderful. Some of that stuff looked really good. I would have loved to try it myself. So yeah, it was really, really great. Of course, Usman and Kimberly canoodled a little bit more, just in excitement to see each other. And then, you know, Jamal comes back over as well because, you know, he's obviously went to his room to kind of settle in, and Usman and Kimberly were kind of settling in a little bit in their room. So Jamal comes on over to the hotel room of Usman and Kimberly. They sit down, break bread, and you know, Jamal is really digging the food, so that was really nice. And they talk a little bit and everything. And you know, Usman is really trying to start to open up to Jamal because he really wants Jamal to feel comfortable. He really wants Jamal to feel like this is going to be like a second home to him too. And of course, Jamal, you know, he's putting the brakes on a little bit, not too obnoxiously, which I appreciate that, but just basically saying, you know, we'll see how this trip goes before I will feel like this is like a home to me. But you know, right now things are going good. We'll just see how it goes. And of course, you know, Usman just lets it be know that, yeah, you know, I just really, you know, want you guys to have a good time, and yeah, we're just gonna see how things unfold as well. And then it was really sweet because Usman decides that I need to pop away for just a second because I've got a gift for you. And of course, we're all like, what kind of gift do you have? I mean, really, really good hosting type of activity from Usman. I was very impressed. And so how funny, Usman comes into the hotel room with a PS5 for Jamal. And of course, Jamal is all arrayed. He's super excited for his gift. And I was sitting there thinking, like, didn't Kimberly buy Usman a PS5 like last season or so? And so yeah, they ended up confirming that did happen. But I thought that was really funny. So, you know, hey, look, you know, it worked out all in. I know some people probably felt a little like it was a bit much for the computer and the PS5 on the first visit that we knew of anyways, that they saw each other in person. When Kimberly had gifted Usman all that wonderful stuff. But as you can see, and Jamal shares that it was a full circle moment. Hey, my mom gave him a PS5. Now he's giving me a PS5. So I think Usman is working his way in there. And he's doing a great job because, food is not the only thing that's a great thing to someone's stomach. Sometimes to their happiness is gifts. So it all depends on what your love language is, all right? So they talk a little bit. He's really excited. Kimberly's excited, thinks it's so kind that Usman did that. I'm not quite sure if Kimberly already knew that was happening or not. Nevertheless, it was really, really a nice moment for the three of them. And then, of course, as they're discussing things and just kind of really getting to know each other, Usman just basically says to Jamal, look, I just want us to be able to, really, get along and, to obviously be respected, not as your father, because that's not going to happen, right? But as, your friend, as, being together within this family unit. And I think it was a really smart way to go for Usman. I really do. I don't really know how old Jamal is, but I know that, like Jamal had shared, they're not too far apart in age. So at the end of the day, it was never going to be a father-son relationship, but just like Kimberly had shared, just a respectful one, right? So yeah, that was really, really wonderful to see that. And so the rest of the evening kind of just goes along in bliss. It was a really good first evening introduction to Usman. And, of course, Jamal is excited. He takes his PS5, says, look, I'm going to go back over to my room. This feels like Christmas. And so he heads back on over to his room, and then each party goes ahead and just has, a wonderful evening. So we pick back up with Usman, Kimberly, and Jamal in the car the next day. Usman shares that he's going to be taking Kimberly and Jamal to go meet up his friends Giant and KB. And if you recall, a few episodes back, one of them or both of them were the friends that Usman was with, sitting with Kimberly as well at the bench when, I don't know, Usman said something about that second wife thing, and he got doused with a shake. Yeah, those were the two friends. So of course she's like, oh, that's just great. That was the last time I think they'd probably seen each other as well. And Jamal, basically, was hearing the story of what she did. And he said, oh, that's a great impression, Mom. Like, great first impression. So yeah, she's a little embarrassed, but I do appreciate Jamal kind of ribbing her a little bit about it, because it was a little bit out of, character maybe. He does ask her, don't you think you're being a little bit, overreactive? And Kimberly just says, yeah, right, yeah, I was. And yeah, so good. I like that. I like being able to take accountability and responsibility. I think that was a good thing. So yeah, and at the end of the day, it makes it a little bit an anxious feeling, right, when you're meeting these people after your mom has displayed herself in such a way. But nevertheless, it worked out. So they get to what looks like a park, and it looks like they're doing some form of archery, a game with archery and whatnot. And the greeting between KB and Giant, Usman's friends, and Kimberly and Usman was very friendly. I mean, they hugged, said hello. It didn't seem to be any hard feelings. Very far cry different between Michael and the goofballs, as Angela likes to call them, his friends. Very different display there. But yeah, so they're having a good time, and they just really take Jamal under their wings, and Jamal starts playing with them with the archery stuff, and they're going back and forth. They're really having a good time. So this is going well, right? And yeah, everybody's just having just such happiness going on. And Kimberly shares, look, they love him. And yeah, it was really fun. It was really great. It was nice bonding time. So after the three of them end up, because I think Usman was kind of chilling, or maybe he was part of it too. No, it probably was Usman playing with Jamal, because they were doing teams, and I believe that KB and the Giant, which is his name, they beat them, and they wanted to make sure they knew it. And I also thought it was kind of cute how Jamal had said, oh, they call you Giant, you're about the same height as me, so that was kind of cute, a little barb here and there, so yeah, everybody was having a good time. So they do sit down at the bench after their little competition, and Usman was like, yes, we agree with you, you won. And so that was really nice. And they kind of start diving in about And I think Jamal is really one to open the conversation about, what they think and their thoughts about, his mom and Usman, and they start discussing, further about the second wife situation. So there's a conversation going on about that, where Usman and Kimberly share that, hey, yeah, it's not legal in the United States. It's considered polygamy, and so no, there won't be a second wife taken here. So of course, the two friends are like, oh wow, okay, that's different. So not allowed in the States, and they're like, no, not allowed in the States. So what are y'all gonna do is the next question, right? So they decide to share about the adoption, idea or proposal that Usman had about basically adopting Usman's older brother's one of his sons, and they are going to go ahead and look at that as possibly an option. And the two friends seem to be in agreement with it, like very much understanding and acknowledging, oh, okay, all right. Because again, if you remember how Usman had shared, this is common in their country. So by that being the case, it really verified that for him. And, that was a good thing, because I know that it still was a strange thing to hear something like that, but it's a different culture, different norms, and this is how it is. Jamal does jump in and ask for verification. So is this normal for this to happen here? And they said, yeah, it pretty much is. And it is so because it's a blood thing. So it's fine if you adopt another family member because they are of your blood. This will be just like your son or your daughter if that's the case. And it's very much an acceptable way of doing things if in fact the woman that you are with is not able to have kids. So yeah, that worked out really well to make sure that was verified, and it's just, this is what they do here. So but we do get a little opportunity to kind of speak with KB and Giant. I don't want to mess that up. In which they're talking about the ideology is definitely different there in their country, as far as the adoption situation is concerned. Of course, Kimberly has shared that she's, a little nervous and concerned about doing this big thing that wasn't something she was expecting to do by adopting a child in this way and raising this child. And of course, her friends were like, well, we think in their own confessional time that she would be happy about that because she doesn't have to deal with the second wife situation, so she'd be ecstatic with this option. And it's normal for us. Adoption there is different. It's seen different. They utilize their culture and their religion as basis for adoptions there, so it's a little bit different. It's accepted in their culture. So yeah, everybody seems copacetic with the situation, naturally, except Kimberly. She doesn't know, right? She shares again with them, at the end of the day, I don't know if this is something I want to be able to do. This is a lot. Of course, Jamal is echoing the same sentiment. And it's interesting because as they're talking, and she does share with the two friends, Kimberly saying, hey, look, I want to meet up with Muhammad and his wife and talk to him about this, because she's thinking that part of this trip is going to be them bonding, because she's already thinking that they already know that there's already been a bit of a conversation. And she feels that Usman alluded to her that that's what was going on. Come to find out, no, Usman hadn't said a thing to Muhammad. He has no idea that Kimberly's coming over there to, what she fears that they would think is coming there to take their kid. But yeah, that was like, oh wow, another, drop the mic moment from Usman, because that's how he does it. But he's like, yeah, no, it'll be fine. We're like, calm down. Why are you so upset? Because Kimberly's like, oh my gosh, why don't I know about this? Why didn't you tell me that they didn't know? Why don't they know about this? And of course, Jamal's like, man, that's not good, man. That's not good. So, Usman's trying to calm everybody down. It's fine because, hey, I invited Muhammad and his wife to wherever they're at right now so they can talk about and discuss it. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. But so that's where we basically are left with Usman and Kimberly and the clinches of what that meeting is going to be like. I am here for it. I saw, like you might have saw, the expressions for the coming up episodes, and yeah, it's going to be something. But nevertheless, the trip started off well, so we'll just see if the trip ends well. So that being said, we're going to move on to Yara and Jovi. Now, if you recall from the previous episode, Yara and Jovi pretty much are having really a standoff type conversation at breakfast with Karina and Talmadge, the mother, and Mila. And the issue, of course, we already know is about them allowing, I guess, Yara to stay longer in Europe to be of help with her family and her friends and just the people there in general for everything that's going on. Jovi's put his heels in the sand, so to speak. He's not interested in hearing that. At the end of the day, him and Yara are going back to the States together. They came together. They're going to leave together. So we're going to see how all that rolls out. But we do pick back up with them now after parting ways. They are taking a nice brisk walk in the beautiful town there they are in Germany. And Yara seems to be in good spirits for the most part. Jovi looks tight. He looks very tight. Now, remember, Jovi is looking for options and ways to get out of this situation and to get Yara to feel like, you know what, I need to go back home. So his grand idea is to propose the idea of let's get pregnant. And again, Jovi, I have not heard him be interested per se or speak on it anyways of having another child so soon. There always seems to be such conflict about his time issues in regards to the one he has already now. So it didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me, but it does make sense when you're trying to find a desperate attempt to get your wife to not leave you in the great US of A. He drops the idea on Yara during their walk about, you know, hey, because he's really, again, brings up the conversation and he's really upset. He feels that Yara's bringing him a lot of negativity on this trip. And he's just really upset about the fact that this is what we're dealing with here. That why are we having this conversation? You know, so we're picking that back up again. And as they're talking, of course, Yara's saying the same thing about the fact that, look, that's not what this is about. But the bottom line is I'm a grown woman and I can make decisions for myself. No one is influencing me per se. I'm just doing what I feel is right. We've been here all this time. We're nearing our time that we're going to be leaving and we haven't helped anyone. She needs more time to help people. You know, admirable thing, I think. So at the end of the day, Jovi is just upset about that, of course, because he doesn't see that it's a right move to make. So, of course, here we go. We're going to pull out that card. And that card is Jovi has now decided that we're going to have a baby. And Yara, how do you feel about that? So Yara basically is like, heck no, it ain't happening, dude. No, we're not doing that. What are you talking about? Why are you bringing this up? Why all of a sudden are you interested in having babies? Do you know who's going to be watching the baby? I mean, I love my daughter to death, but I'm now getting myself used to, you know, getting back into things with work and just things that she likes to do with incorporating her daughter. Why would she want to tie herself down with another child so soon? Now, she's not opposed to having more kids, but she's looking at much further down the line, maybe another good 4 years or so, but most certainly not now. And of course, she is no dummy, because she is definitely on par with what Jovi is trying to do. Yeah, so she understands that Jovi is using this as an ability to keep her tied down to the States. What is she doing? Wondering about the fact that he is looking at, you're trying to control me. And of course, Jovi's like, no, that's not what it is, blah, 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 blah. Yara's like, yeah, it is. You're trying to control me. You're trying to get me to come back to the States and hunker me down with another kid so that way I will sit here, be raising a child while you go and do whatever you need to do. So then Yara lets him have it. In her not so great takedown towards Jovi, she lets him know, look, I do everything for you. I am doing all things to make you happy because I love you and I respect you. I moved to the States so we could be together. I'm living in a place that I hate so we could be together. Could you please let me do something that I want to do that makes me happy once in this life? And I was like, oh my God. And you know, again, here we go with the fact that I honestly feel that Jovi has spent so much time not listening to Yara and her needs and her desires and her wants about certain things. Now, mind you, Yara is self-proclaimed that she definitely does complain, okay? So we're not going to just say, you know, hey, it's all on him. However, there have been moments that we have seen in full display that Yara has shared about her feelings about certain things with Jovi, and he doesn't seem to take her very seriously. He brushes her off. You had the strip club situation that really went awry, and then just other things about her unhappiness where they are, the extra partying, living where they lived, so she moved him out somewhere further in the country, in the state of Louisiana, and she's just not having it. And at the end of the day, she's not happy. And so I feel like that was, long time coming. At some point, it's going to be the rubber meets the road. Jovi is not going to be able to get past those things. And I think that there's a collision going on where he's starting to realize, oh my God, yeah, she has been saying these things. She does feel this way. I'm going to lose my wife. And if you remember, I said a few episodes back, look, I think Yara sometimes is one foot out the door. Whether she is or not, it was yet to be seen. But at this point, it doesn't look so good for Jovi. Not winning this battle anyways. So yeah, she puts it on the line. Jovi to me looks a little confused. I don't know why he looks confused. I feel like he already knew how she felt and he just wasn't listening. And now the chickens have come home to roost. So yeah, that's my thoughts about what's happening here. But I would like to know what you think about that. How do you feel? Do you think that this is kind of like a long time coming? Because do you feel like, hey, Jovi has not spent much time listening to Yara. So at the end of the day, if you're not listening to each other and she's not getting her needs and her wants met, you're not going to get your needs and wants met. Because, even though Jovi does travel abroad for weeks at a time, we don't know everything that Jovi's doing. And for Yara, it's like, at the same time, he gets a little bit of a breakaway, right? So there's always that, that tug of war in their thought processes of what each of them is doing. And, Yara's not interested. And, pretending like she's back in the 50s. At the end of the day, we need to make some adjustments to this. And like she shares, look, the more he hunkers down, the more pressure he puts on this, the more she is interested in pulling away. And doesn't that happen a lot of times? If there's something that you want to do and someone continues to keep pressuring you to go a different direction, but you feel very stern and very purposeful in doing what you need to do, it's going to make you want to move away from that person. And I think that's what we're going to be seeing happening. And at the end of the day, you already shared this already, if he doesn't get a grip, okay? So yeah, that's what Jovi's dealing with. So the back and forth commences. It's pretty, I don't know, kind of cringeworthy to me, because it's like, wow, she's really not happy. And this baby thing and this idea of that is going away further and further and further as they speak. And, he says, look, but we're a family and this is how we plan things and we're supposed to be planning having a baby. And you said that, look, we're going to plan to have children, and I agree. So, but we need to also plan and talk about things and get each other's A-okay about getting an apartment overseas and staying over there. So he's just not happy about that. But, here we go. So as they continue, Yara, as you know, says, look, I'm not interested. So no, I'm not having a baby. I would be the one that has to take care of the child. We're not doing that right now. So the answer is no, like unequivocally, like absolutely not, like no. And don't ask me again, Jovi. So yeah, that was a shutdown of all shutdowns. And, at the end of the day, look, Yara, further says about, I would have thought you would come up with something better, like something smarter to come with. It's clear to me that you're using this as definitely a way to hold me down and hold me back and not allow me to stay here and do the good things that I want to do in helping the people here in my home country. So Jovi, the gig is up. Yara's on to you. You're the only one that's still living in the area that nobody knows what's going on here. The insecurities are showing. Not saying you don't have a reason to feel insecure, just saying they're showing, and Yara's not here for it. Not in the least. So there's that. So we pick back up after that uncomfortable conversation with everybody kind of taking some space away. Yara's mother is watching Mila, and Jovi is somewhere out there with Talmadge drinking a beer, she says. So yeah. And in the meantime, with all that happening, Yara and her friend Karina are spending some spa day time together. And I thought it was really cool. The pool that they were in is like a sauna pool. And it's with the snow and stuff because it's outside. And yeah, it's really, really cool. So yeah, they're enjoying themselves. First time they had a spa day, obviously in a long time. They really needed it. It's more time to bond. Now, of course, they're having a good time. We wouldn't expect anything else. So, of course, Yara then shares with Karina about the conversation her and Jovi had. Now, if you would have remembered that there was something that Karina had shared at the breakfast in her confessional with us, where she shared that, you know, she had known Jovi, of course, prior to. She's met him before, and she didn't think Jovi and Yara were a good match. She felt they were both too stubborn for each other. So I'm pretty sure she's really surprised that they've lasted this long. But she did let those feelings known. So with the premise of understanding that, and also seeing what was going on in the breakfast area, you know, she's probably thinking this is probably not going to end well for them either. But hey, I'm here for my friend, and I'm going to be there to support her like she's come all this way to come and support me. So Yara does talk about the fact that Jovi says, hey, let's go have another child. And it's very laughingly. She's not trying to hear this. But it was kind of funny how, wow, a kid? Really? So yeah, everybody's just joking about that. And of course, we're cutting back and forth. And the next thing, Talmadge is talking to Jovi, and they're doing just what Yara thought, you know, having a beer, having a conversation. Jovi is so fit to be tied. He shares about the fact that, you know, it didn't work. Basically, his plan went a bust. And, you know, Talmadge says, look, you know, I kind of feel like, you know, I know that she influenced you a lot. And I'm saying, of course, he is influenced by his wife. He is married. That's to be expected. So whatever, you know, like, golly. I'm not saying that they have to be at the hips and everything like Jovi probably would like it to be at this point, but at the end of the day, we understand this is what it is. They are a married couple, and we need to remember that and respect that. So yeah, but you know, he says, look, I might be speaking a little bit out of jealousy because I miss our times together. I'm sitting here like, look, Talmadge, those times are done. They're over. That's it. I don't even think Yara cares for you. So yeah, no, I don't think those times are done. But in any event, you know, he's definitely there for his friend Jovi, and, you know, they're wallowing in their glasses of beer. And, I mean, look, it is what it is. Yara said no, so and really the rest of the conversation on there doesn't matter. You know, Jovi just pretty much, you know, he talks more about, you know, look, they're supposed to be together. They're supposed to do this together. He's not happy with this. And so it's just more of the same of that, you would have recalled. And yeah, but of course we clip back to Yara and Karina. They're having a grand old time laughing and giggling, and we know that's not going to happen. So, you know, we'll just have to see. That's really what we're left with. We're going to have to see how all this unfolds. And that's how we're left with Yara and Jovi. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up this roundup with Bilal and Shaeeda. Now, Bilal and Shaeeda, as you know, are in New York, and they are basically just have their really, well, they did have an awkward dinner with Utris, which was Shaeeda's best friend, and then Bilal and Utris had a moment after that awkward dinner to where they were able to kind of just, you know, put the swords down, meet in the middle, and they're going to start over again. So I think that's great. Now, if you remember from the last episode, when Utris had gotten from the conversation about babies from Bilal that, you know, look, they're not planning to have a child, but if she was to get pregnant, he would be happy. All that. Remember that. This will come in handy later on. So, yeah. But at this moment, you know, Bilal remembers that Shaeeda, something she'd always wanted to do was take a helicopter ride. And so he actually set one up in New York. So that's going to be great, right? I remember when I did that for my husband, and we had a ball. It was actually a surprise for his birthday. I was always trying to think of things to do that he would like to do for his birthday. So, we usually do more sporty type things, or, just those types of things that are more adventurous and stuff, so that way he'd have a really good time and it wouldn't feel like we're just doing an event for me on his birthday. And so I thought, well, oh my gosh, I can't think of anything. Helicopter ride. And it was so funny because I was able to keep that secret almost the whole time, right? So the thing was that we were going to go to get something to eat. We had a really nice meal. It was about 11 o'clock, 11:30, something like that. And we were just enjoying ourselves. And, I had a nice little cocktail, and he happened to notice that I was having 2 cocktails. And here's the thing. I'm not really super crazy about heights, but, I was going to make it happen. And as I'm thinking about the fact that I'm going to be in a helicopter ride, I'm getting a little, nervous myself, but I'm really trying hard not to let him know that this was happening. And then eventually I started kind of thinking about maybe I should tell him what we're doing, because maybe he could be nervous too. So I spilled the beans at let's just say after this, we're going on a helicopter ride. And he was super excited. So it was a great fun. And it just reminded me of that time. And of course, everything went well. We had a fantastic instructor and a fantastic pilot rather, and it was really fun. We just had such a good time. So Bilal is really on the money for it. I think it's great that him and Shaeeda are going to do this. I'm excited for them as well, because remember, Bilal is trying really hard to romance his wife. That's all he really wanted this trip for, and it's not been smooth sailing, and it really should have been more smooth sailing than what it was. So anyways, they're going into the helicopter. Shaeeda is excited about it. They're doing their little trip, going up and seeing different things, and yeah, I mean, it's really nice, all of the tall buildings, Statue of Liberty, all the beautiful stuff. Now, I'm from New York myself, so yeah, I could only imagine how much fun that Shaeeda was having that aerial shot view and all of that good stuff. So everything's great, seems great anyways, as it often does in 90 days. They do land, and after they land, after their beautiful trip, they take their pictures, everything's good, copacetic. Well, of course, Shaeeda decides to let us know, hey, look, I'm about to drop another stone on him, because we're going to talk about this baby situation. I'm putting my foot down. I've talked to Uterus. She has let me know as well that I need to put my foot down, and that's what I'm going to do. I want a baby, and you're going to tell me when that baby is coming. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. The show begins. So she says, look, I think that it's really wonderful you're doing all these things, but I don't want you to be doing all these great, wonderful things, trying to not give me the one thing I really want, and that is, when are we going to have a baby? So Bilal's like this again. I'm trying to show you a good time. I'm trying to show you fun. I just want to have this wonderful time with you, and we got to talk about this again? I thought we talked about this already. I did a prenup with you about it. It's not good enough. Look, Shaeeda said, I want to know exactly when we're going to start having a child. In 3 months, in 6 months. I need to know what's going on. This is what I want, and this is what needs to happen. And then she drops the ultimatum on him. Look, the bottom line is, if you don't tell me within 9 months, there is not going to be a Bilal and Shaeeda. Because she says, look, this is going to be a breaking point for us. And of course, Bilal's taken aback a little bit that he didn't really think that it would go to that point. And of course, that goes right into the insecurities of Bilal. He starts questioning her true intent of being with him and all of that. So he's upset because he can't believe he's getting an ultimatum, can't believe that this is actually going to be a deal breaker, considering all the efforts that he feels he has done. And all he's trying to do is just show Shaeeda a great time. So of course, Shaeeda gets emotional. She wants to know. And that's that. She feels like he hasn't talked to her since they found out the news from the doctor about the fertility issues that she may encounter, the lowest in percentages that she's dealing with and facing because of age, and so forth and so on. And Bilal has really just chosen not to really get into that because he's kind of in his head of what he wants to do timeline wise, and so he's not really letting anything else in to, adjust his thinking. and that's just not working for her. So she's like, look, I need things to be sealed, signed, and delivered. I need to know. So 9 months it is at this point. If he doesn't give her a date by 9 months, it's a wash. So of course, Bilal's like, wow, great way to ruin a moment, Here we took you on this beautiful helicopter ride, and we're getting on to do the next event, and this is now what the heavy I'm left with. So yeah, it was pretty serious conversation. But Shaeeda feels like she's found her voice. She has done a lot to tamper her voice for him to appease Bilal, and enough is enough already. And that's it. She's putting her foot down. Enough is enough. She wants a kid, and that's what's going to be. And you're going to tell me that we're not playing around anymore with this, right? So yeah, I mean, hey, go for what you know, right? Go for what you know. So after that uncomfortable conversation, we then do meet back up with Bilal and Shaeeda as they are walking pretty solemnly, I think, in Central Park. Quiet, clearly, probably the rest of the evening didn't go as well as they would have liked it to. We don't really know. But yeah, they just don't really look like themselves. Definitely not jovial and not happiness is not what I'm seeing on their faces. But here we go. Shaeeda shares that Uterus is actually leaving the next day to go back to London. So she doesn't have much time to speak with her. So she is going to talk with her, chat with her in Central Park. Bilal and Shaeeda then therefore wait for Uterus in Central Park. So as they're sitting on the bench and everything, Uterus pops up, and of course there's nice pleasantries, and Bilal says, look, I'm gonna let you ladies have your time together, and I'm just gonna go ahead and take a walk. And that's what he did. So Shaeeda tells Uterus, look, I told him, I said this is what I want and this is what we're gonna do. I gave him an ultimatum. Uterus is like, yippee yeah, because that's great. This is wonderful, because you're putting him to the test to make sure that he is gonna do what you've asked of him, that you guys have agreed to, that you have obviously shared. You make sure that you get what you need as well. And now they do further talk about personal matters. Because if you remember during the conversation with Uterus and Bilal when they were having their, kind of making up and starting over moment, and he had shared about the fact that he would be all right with having a baby if it happened accidentally. Well, so Uterus is like, look, maybe you stop taking the contraception. Maybe you just, stop taking that birth control pill or whatever she's doing, and just let it happen naturally. He'll be okay with it. And so Shaeeda tells her, no, I'm not on anything. It's actually Bilal that's doing the contraceptive. So she's like, well, wait a minute. This is worse than I thought, because he lied to me. And she's looking at her, like, lied. Yeah, he lied to me. He said, that if it happened naturally, it would be okay, blah, 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 blah. He didn't say anything about him being the one that's, putting the brakes in that arena from it happening. So yeah, she was really not thrilled with that. And she's like, that just tells me he really doesn't want any children. So yeah, that lets Shaeeda say, look, that's fine. That's not okay. But if that's what it's going to be, that's what's going to be, because I gave that ultimatum. And in 9 months, if I don't have a baby in me, or at least a date as to when we're going to do it, and it's going to be a firm situation, I got to roll. And Uterus says, okay, good. And then you have to do it. He has to know that you will be okay without him. And so she asked her, look, if you have a choice between having a baby or this marriage, which one would you choose? Shaeeda says, now it would be the baby. So she says, good, then you need to stick with that. Don't waver on that. Make sure that you stick to that date. And if he doesn't do it, you got to go. Now, look, I'm not one for ultimatums. I don't think those really work out too often. I do understand that there's moments that you may have to say, look, either we're going to do this or we're not. And if we're not, then I need to move on. I get that. So, and I think that, look, we've all done that at some point or other. Sometimes creating boundaries is an ultimatum, and that's okay. But you do have to be careful, obviously, and be okay with the circumstances that come from that ultimatum. So as long as you're okay with that, then it's fine, right? I don't know if Shaeeda really has grasped that concept, because I think in her heart of hearts, she's hoping Bilal will, say, look, okay, this is the date, or this is what we're going to do, and stick to it. But do I think that he's going to wait up to the 9 months? Right up to the 9 months? It's possible. You know, and of course, Utrus is letting Shaeeda know, look, don't let him wait to that time. You know, you need to stand your ground about this. And, you know, so I don't know. It's a big undertaking. Will Shaeeda do it? I don't know yet. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's, you know, she's not only put these brakes on him from, you know, kind of just wasting the time, she's also put a ticker on her as well to make a move if he doesn't do that. Because, you know, once you put an ultimatum out there, if you don't then do what you say you're going to do, if the person doesn't do what you want them to do, then of course you've lost credibility, and that's not going to work. So yeah, that's where we're at with them. I mean, it's quite a conundrum, I think. And we'll have to see how this works out. But yeah, you know, Utrus is happy with her decision to stand up for herself, and we'll see how it all goes. So yeah, I mean, there's more to come, obviously. And I think that wraps up our time with Bilal and Shaeeda, and definitely wraps up our time with this couple's roundup of our 90-day fiance recap, review, and not so humble opinion. So of course, I would love to know your thoughts. What do you think about those areas of interesting conversation? Because there's a lot of interesting conversation in the last episode. But tell me what your thoughts are. What do you think about what's going on with all three of these couples? Do you agree with the ultimatum that Bilal and Shaeeda has got on the table? Do you think Shaeeda had to really kind of put her foot down? I kind of think that there was probably a moment that she would have to. Otherwise, it was going to drive her crazy. So, you know, I think she did what she felt she needed to do. We'll see what happens. But let me know in the comment section what you think about that. And Usman and Kimberly, how do you think it's going to go with the adoption conversation with Muhammad and his wife? I think it's going to be really, really funny. But yeah, at least in the beginning. Drop your comments down below. Do you think it's going to even work out? I mean, kind of like if you could be a person that could predict, can you think that they would work out? Well, I guess we'll have to see. And then lastly, Yara and Jovi. I mean, honestly, I don't know where to go with these people. I think that for them, it's really going to come down to whether she's going to stay or not. And quite frankly, I think there's going to have to be some compromise made. And I do think Yara's going to stay. So what's your thoughts about that? You think Yara's going to go ahead and stay, or do you think she's going to hop on that plane and go back when Jovi goes back? I don't know. We'd love to know your thoughts, of course. So make sure you drop those down in the comment section. Let's have a conversation about it. And I think for that wraps up our video. Please make sure you have subscribed if you have not already. I am so glad that you stayed through the entire video, and I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. Remember, the next video drop will be the part 2 with the remaining couples on from the December 4th episode. So we'll get into those couples' issues and shenanigans as well. So I think until then, I will bid you adieu. You have a blessed day, a blessed rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Bye.